The crimson sunrise over Araxis painted the crystal spires of the planetary capital in shades of amber and gold. Dr. Kira Solon stood before the massive observation deck of the Galactic Communications Array, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface as stellar data cascaded through the transparent displays. For 3 decades, she had monitored the vast emptiness between star systems, cataloging radio bursts, analyzing cosmic background radiation, and occasionally intercepting the rare interstellar communication between distant civilizations. Today would be different. The first anomaly appeared at 0847 Standard Time as a faint distortion in the subspace frequency grid. Dr. Solon frowned, adjusting the sensitivity parameters of her scanning equipment. The signal strengthened, revealing itself as a structured transmission rather than random cosmic noise. Her pulse quickened as the universal translation protocols engaged, decoding the message according to Galactic Alliance standards. Emergency beacon activated. Coordinates 847.23 Alpha. Population stranded. Immediate assistance required. The message repeated every 37 seconds with mechanical precision. Dr. Solon's hands trembled as she verified the signal's origin point through multiple sensor arrays. The coordinates traced back to a sector marked in red across every navigation chart. The Ares system, specifically the 4th planet, designated as a Class 12 Deathworld. Deathworlds represented the most hostile environments known to galactic civilization. Ares 4 possessed an atmosphere saturated with sulfuric compounds, surface temperatures that fluctuated between -40 and +60 degrees Celsius within a single rotation, and radiation levels that could kill most organic life within hours of exposure. No rational species would attempt colonization of such a nightmare realm. Yet someone was there, calling for help. Within 2 hours, Dr. Solon found herself standing before the Araxis High Council, a semicircle of elderly beings representing the peaceful confederation of 12 star systems that had formed their small alliance 3 centuries prior. The council chamber, carved from a single massive crystal formation, amplified her voice as she presented her findings. Honored council members, the signal originates from Ares 4, transmitted on emergency frequencies established by the Galactic Alliance Emergency Protocol. The message indicates a stranded population requiring immediate evacuation. Counselor Thane, a silver-haired woman whose family had helped establish Araxis's first space colonies, leaned forward in her crystal chair. Dr. Solon, our records indicate that Ares 4 has been surveyed multiple times over the past millennium. Every expedition reported the planet as completely uninhabitable, devoid of any life forms above the microbial level. That's precisely what troubles me. Counselor, either our previous surveys were catastrophically incomplete, or someone has recently established a presence there, under circumstances we cannot imagine. The debate continued for 6 hours. Some council members argued for caution, suggesting they forward the signal to the larger Galactic Alliance authorities and await instructions. Others, led by Counselor Marin, insisted that Araxis had a moral obligation to respond immediately to any emergency beacon, regardless of its origin. Admiral Arlen Voss, the graying commander of Araxis's modest defense fleet, stood to address the assembly. His weathered face bore scars from 3 decades of exploring dangerous sectors beyond their peaceful borders. Distinguished Council, if we're going to mount a rescue operation to a Deathworld, we cannot send a few lightly armed survey vessels. Ares 4 will test every system we possess. I recommend deploying Fleet Formation 7, 400 warships equipped with nuclear weaponry and kinetic bombardment capabilities. The council chamber fell silent. Araxis had never assembled such massive military force for any operation in their recorded history. Their ships were primarily designed for exploration and peaceful contact with other civilizations. Counselor Thane voiced the concern shared by many. Admiral, 400 warships seems excessive for a rescue mission. What aren't you telling us? Admiral Voss activated a holographic display showing Ares 4's planetary data. The electromagnetic interference around Ares 4 is unlike anything in our databases. Solar radiation, magnetic storms, and atmospheric disturbances will disrupt our communications and navigation systems. If we lose ships to environmental hazards, we need sufficient numbers to complete the mission and return home. Furthermore, if someone is actually surviving on that planet, they possess technology or adaptations far beyond our understanding. We must be prepared for any scenario. Dr. Solon supported the Admiral's assessment. I've run probability calculations on the signal's technical specifications. The transmission array generating that beacon would require power sources equivalent to a small fusion reactor, somehow maintained in one of the most corrosive environments known to science. Whoever built it represents a civilization with capabilities that may exceed our own. The final vote was unanimous. Within 72 hours, Auraxis would launch the largest rescue fleet in their history. The departure ceremony drew millions of citizens to viewing platforms throughout Auraxis's orbital stations. Fleet Formation 7 stretched across 50 kilometers of space, a glittering armada of silver and blue vessels arranged in precise geometric patterns. Each ship carried crews trained in hostile environment operations, equipped with sealed environmental suits, advanced medical facilities, and enough supplies to sustain rescue operations for 6 months. Dr. Solon had requested assignment to the flagship constellation, serving as senior scientific advisor to Admiral Voss. As they engaged their hyperspace drives and reality twisted into the familiar tunnel of faster-than-light travel, she reviewed her analysis of the mysterious signal for the 100th time. Something was wrong. The transmission's pattern was too perfect, too mechanical. No emergency beacon operated with such precise timing unless it was automated. But automated systems required maintenance, and maintenance required living beings capable of surviving Ares 4's lethal environment. The journey to Ares system required 43 hours of hyperspace travel. During the transit, Dr. Solon worked closely with the fleet's intelligence officers to develop operational scenarios. They prepared for everything from advanced alien civilizations to genetically modified human colonies, to some form of artificial intelligence that had established itself on the Deathworld. None of their scenarios proved accurate. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Ares system, immediately deploying sensor drones and establishing communication relays. Ares 4 hung before them like a malevolent eye, its atmosphere swirling with toxic clouds that shifted between sickly yellow and deep purple. Lightning storms larger than entire continents flickered across the planet's surface, while massive hurricanes that had raged for centuries carved grooves visible from orbit. "Admiral," reported Commander Sarah Lou from the sensor station, "I'm detecting the source of the emergency beacon. It's located on the northern continent, approximately 200 kilometers from what appears to be a massive volcanic complex." Dr. Solon studied the scans with growing confusion. "The beacon is definitely artificial, but I'm not detecting any settlement around it. No buildings, no landing facilities, no signs of habitation." "Could they be underground?" Admiral Voss asked. "Negative, sir. We're using deep penetration scanners designed to map subterranean structures. The beacon appears to be a solitary installation." The first indication of Ares 4's true nature came when a routine meteorological probe, designed to analyze atmospheric conditions, simply vanished upon entering the planet's upper atmosphere. No debris, no distress signal, no trace remained of the sophisticated monitoring device. "What could destroy a probe that quickly?" Admiral Voss demanded. Engineer Mira Jin, a brilliant young woman who had joined the mission to study any advanced technology they might encounter, reviewed the telemetry data. "Admiral, the atmospheric chemistry is beyond extreme. The probe registered sulfuric acid concentrations that would dissolve our hull plating in minutes. But that's not what destroyed it. The final readings show massive electromagnetic pulses, natural phenomena generated by the planet's magnetic field interactions with solar radiation."
Meaning?
Meaning Ares 4 doesn't just have bad weather, sir. The planet actively destroys anything that enters its atmosphere through a combination of chemical corrosion and electromagnetic disruption. Dr. Solon felt a chill that had nothing to do with the recycled air aboard Constellation. If the environment is that hostile, how is the beacon still transmitting? The answer came 6 hours later, when Major Raul Corps' reconnaissance team attempted their first atmospheric entry. Major Corps, a veteran of hostile environment operations, led a squad of 12 specialists in armored drop pods designed to withstand extreme conditions. Their mission was simple: reach the beacon, assess the situation, and establish a communication relay. The descent began normally. The drop pods entered Ares 4's atmosphere in a tight formation, their heat shields glowing cherry red as they cut through the toxic air. At 15 kilometers altitude, the first pod suffered catastrophic systems failure. Constellation, this is Recon Team Alpha. Major Corps' voice crackled through heavy static. We're losing Pod 3. Electronics are going haywire. Chemical sensors are off the charts. Dr. Solon watched the telemetry feeds in horror. The drop pod's hull plating was dissolving, eaten away by atmospheric acids more corrosive than anything in their databases. Simultaneously, electromagnetic interference was disrupting the pod's navigation and life support systems. Major, abort the mission, Admiral Voss ordered. Return to orbit immediately. Cannot comply. Admiral, our ascent engines have been compromised. We're committed to landing. 8 of the 12 pods reached Ares 4's surface. The others were destroyed during descent, their crews lost to an environment that seemed actively malevolent. Major Corps' team found themselves on a landscape that defied description, crystalline formations that jutted from the ground like frozen screams, pools of liquid that bubbled and steamed with toxic vapors, and a sky that flickered with unnatural colors as radiation storms painted aurora displays across the heavens. Constellation. We have visual contact with the beacon, Major Corps reported. His voice was distorted by the interference, but the excitement was unmistakable. It's definitely artificial, but the design is unlike anything in our databases. The structure appears to be grown, rather than built. Organic curves. No straight lines or conventional joints. Dr. Solon leaned closer to the communication console. Major, can you identify any signs of its builders? Negative, Doctor. The area around the beacon is completely barren. No structures, no vehicles, no indication that anyone has ever been here except for the beacon itself. How is that possible? Someone had to install it. That's what we're trying to figure out. Engineer Specialist Torres is analyzing the beacon's power source. The readings are unusual. 20 minutes later, Specialist Torres's findings changed everything they thought they knew about their rescue mission. Admiral, Torres reported, his voice tight with uncertainty. This beacon isn't powered by any technology I recognize. The energy readings suggest some form of biological battery, a living power source that's been maintaining this transmission for possibly decades. Dr. Solon felt the pieces of a terrible puzzle beginning to align. Torres, you said biological. Are you detecting any life signs around the beacon? That's the strange part. Doctor, the beacon itself is registering as a life form. Faint, but definitely organic. It's as if the entire structure is alive. Before anyone could respond to this revelation, Ares 4 provided its own answer. The ground beneath Major Corps' team began to tremble, a deep vibration that seemed to emanate from the planet's core. Seismic monitors aboard Constellation registered the disturbance as a magnitude 8.7 earthquake, but the readings made no sense. The epicenter was directly beneath the beacon, yet no geological activity could explain such a perfectly localized tremor. Constellation, we have a problem. Major Corps' voice carried a note of barely controlled panic. The ground is moving, not shaking, moving, like something enormous is stirring underneath us. The surface around the beacon began to crack and split. revealing glimpses of something massive moving in the depths below. What the survey teams had interpreted as natural rock formations were actually the exposed portions of a creature so vast that its body formed the geological features of the surrounding landscape. Dr. Solon stared at the sensor readings in awe and terror. "Admiral, that's not a beacon. It's part of a living organism. The emergency signal is coming from inside a creature that's been dormant beneath the planet's surface." "How big?" Admiral Voss asked, though his expression suggested he dreaded the answer. "Based on seismic activity and ground deformation patterns, the creature extends at least 50 kilometers in every direction from the beacon, possibly much larger." The implications struck everyone simultaneously. They hadn't come to rescue stranded colonists. They had awakened something that had been sleeping beneath Ares 4's toxic surface. Something so alien that its distress calls had been mistaken for an emergency beacon by their translation protocols. Major Corps' team found themselves at ground zero as the creature began to emerge. Massive segments of what they had thought was bedrock lifted and shifted, revealing organic surfaces covered in scales the size of starship hulls. The beacon, still transmitting its mechanical distress call, was embedded in what could only be described as the creature's cranial region. "All teams, emergency evacuation protocol," Admiral Voss ordered. "Get our people off that planet immediately." But it was too late for a clean withdrawal. The creature, which Dr. Solon had mentally designated as the Ares beast, was fully awakening from what might have been centuries of dormancy. Its emergence from the planetary crust triggered massive geological upheavals. Volcanic vents opened along its flanks, spewing superheated gases into the already toxic atmosphere. The electromagnetic disturbances that had been interfering with their equipment intensified, apparently generated by the creature's nervous system. "Admiral," Engineer Jin reported, "the creature's bioelectric field is disrupting our hyperspace navigation systems. We can't jump to safety until we're beyond its electromagnetic influence." "How far is that?" "At least 3 planetary diameters from Ares 4's surface. Sir, the creature's field effect is enormous." The Fleet Formation 7 found itself trapped in orbit around a hostile world, while something the size of a small continent stirred to life on the surface below. Worse, Major Corps' team was stranded on the creature's back with no means of escape and rapidly depleting life support. Dr. Solon realized that conventional military thinking would be useless against this situation. The creature wasn't attacking them out of malice. It was responding to the stimulus of their presence after possibly centuries of undisturbed sleep. The emergency beacon had been its distress call, either a conscious attempt to summon help or an autonomic response to some form of injury or illness. "Admiral, I request permission to attempt communication with the creature," she said. Admiral Voss turned to stare at her. "Doctor, that thing is the size of a small city. How do you propose to communicate with it?" "The same way it's been communicating with us, sir, through the beacon. If we can access the transmission array and modify its output, we might be able to establish a dialogue rather than simply receiving its distress calls." The plan was desperate, but alternatives were few. Major Corps' team would attempt to access the beacon's control systems, while Fleet Formation 7 maintained defensive positions in orbit. If they could communicate with the creature, perhaps they could negotiate safe passage for the stranded team and a peaceful resolution to their situation. The next 6 hours tested every skill and courage the Auraxis forces possessed. Major Corps' team, working in environmental suits that were never designed for such extreme conditions, fought their way across the creature's back toward the beacon installation. The journey became a nightmare of avoiding toxic vents, navigating across scales the size of building foundations, and maintaining equipment function in an environment that seemed designed to destroy anything artificial. Engineer Specialist Torres led the technical assault on the beacon itself. What they found inside challenged every assumption about biological and mechanical systems. The beacon was indeed alive, but it had been modified with technological components that seemed to grow from its organic structure rather than being installed conventionally. "Dr. Solon," Torres reported, his voice filled with wonder despite their desperate circumstances. "This technology is beyond anything in our databases. The organic and mechanical components are completely integrated. The creature didn't build this beacon. It grew it, like a new organ designed specifically for interstellar communication." Dr. Solon processed this information while monitoring the creature's vital signs through the fleet's sensors. The electromagnetic patterns suggested a vast intelligence, certainly sapient and possibly more advanced than human understanding. "Torres, can you access the beacon's transmission protocols?" "Working on it. Doctor, the interface is organic. I'm having to learn how to communicate with living tissue that's been modified to process digital information." While Torres worked, the creature continued to stir. Its movements triggered seismic events across Ares IV's surface. Mountain ranges shifted as it adjusted its position after centuries of immobility. The toxic atmosphere became even more chaotic as geological vents opened and closed according to the creature's respiratory patterns. Admiral Voss faced an impossible tactical situation. His fleet could probably damage or even kill the creature through concentrated nuclear bombardment. But such action would certainly doom Major Corps' team and might trigger even more catastrophic geological responses. They needed a solution that preserved both human and alien life. The breakthrough came when Torres successfully interfaced with the beacon's biological control systems. Instead of the simple emergency message they had been receiving, a flood of complex information poured through the communication link. Dr. Solon worked frantically to process the data stream, applying every xenobiological and linguistic algorithm in their computers. "Admiral, I'm receiving massive data transfers," she reported. "The creature isn't just calling for help. It's trying to provide information about itself and its situation." The translation process revealed a story that changed their understanding of Ares IV completely. The creature, which identified itself through complex harmonic patterns that roughly translated as Deep Dreamer of the Endless Stone, was not native to Ares IV. It had crashed on the planet millennia ago, its organic starship damaged beyond repair during some interstellar catastrophe. The beacon was its attempt to signal for rescue from its own kind. But the message had been corrupted by Ares IV's electromagnetic interference and mistranslated by the Galactic Alliance protocols. "Doctor," Torres called from the beacon site, "I think I can modify the transmission array to send our own message back to the creature. If your translation is correct, it's been trying to explain its situation for centuries, without anyone understanding." Dr. Solon felt a mixture of excitement and terror. They were about to attempt first contact with a being whose intelligence and capabilities far exceeded their own. "Torres, transmit the following message. We understand your distress. We are not your people, but we wish to help. Please cease movement to allow our small beings to return safely to their flying nest." The response was immediate and overwhelming. The creature's massive form shuddered, and electromagnetic pulses radiating from its nervous system briefly overwhelmed every sensor in the fleet. Then, with ponderous care, it began to settle back into the positions it had occupied during its centuries of dormancy. But the creature also transmitted a new message, one that chilled Dr. Solon's blood. "Small nest builders, danger approaches. The stone song speaks of burning sky hunters. You must flee before the old enemies return." Admiral Voss leaned over Dr. Solon's shoulder as she worked to decode this warning. "Doctor, what is it talking about? Old enemies?" Before she could answer, Fleet Formation 7's long-range sensors detected new arrivals at the edge of Ares' system. 3 massive vessels, each larger than their entire fleet combined, had dropped out of hyperspace and were accelerating toward Ares IV. The ship's design was completely alien, incorporating the same organic technological fusion they had observed in the creature's beacon. "Admiral," Commander Liu reported, "the approaching vessels are transmitting identification codes. They're the same species as the creature on the planet. Dr. Solon realized they had stumbled into the middle of a rescue operation that had been planned for centuries. The creature's own people had finally received its distress call and come to retrieve their stranded kinsmen. The question was whether three massive alien vessels would view the human fleet as rescuers or invaders. The answer came in the form of a communication directed at Admiral Voss himself, transmitted in perfect Auraxis standard. Small metal nest builders, we thank you for awakening our dream singer. Your kindness will be remembered in the deep songs of our people. Please withdraw to safe distance while we retrieve our lost kinsmen. The relief throughout Fleet Formation 7 was palpable. They weren't facing a hostile first contact scenario. They had accidentally become part of an interstellar rescue operation. Major Corps' team was quickly extracted from the creature's back as the alien vessels deployed their own recovery systems. Dr. Solon watched in fascination as the alien technology worked. Instead of mechanical devices, they deployed what appeared to be living tendrils that gently wrapped around their companion and began lifting it from Ares IV's surface. The creature, the deep dreamer of the endless stone, rose from the planetary crust like a mountain taking flight, supported by its people's organic ships. As the alien fleet prepared to depart, their leader transmitted a final message to Admiral Voss. Small ones, your people show wisdom in responding to distress calls from unknown sources. This quality is rare among the younger species. We would welcome future contact between your people and ours, when you have grown ready for such exchanges. How will we know when we're ready? Dr. Solon asked through the communication link. When you learn to distinguish between a cry for help and a call to war, between exploration and invasion, between curiosity and conquest. Your response to our dream singer's distress suggests your people may achieve such wisdom sooner than most. The alien fleet departed as mysteriously as it had arrived, leaving Ares IV scarred, but no longer inhabited by the massive creature. The emergency beacon fell silent for the first time in centuries, its purpose finally fulfilled. Fleet Formation 7 began its journey home to Auraxis, carrying data that would revolutionize their understanding of galactic civilization. Dr. Solon compiled her reports during the return voyage, documenting humanity's first contact with a truly advanced alien intelligence and the lessons learned from their near-catastrophic misunderstanding. The story of the false SOS became legendary throughout Auraxis space. It demonstrated the dangers of making assumptions about alien communications, while also highlighting the importance of responding to distress calls regardless of their origin. The incident led to the establishment of the Auraxis Institute for Xenobiological Communication, dedicated to developing better protocols for interstellar first contact scenarios. Dr. Solon was appointed as the Institute's first director, a position she used to advocate for caution and thoroughness in all future alien encounters. Her primary research focus became the development of communication protocols that could distinguish between genuine emergency calls and automatic biological functions of unknown species. Admiral Voss restructured the Auraxis Defense Fleet based on their experiences at Ares IV. Instead of massive military formations, the new exploration fleets emphasized scientific equipment, communication specialists, and peaceful contact protocols. The 400 warships that had seemed necessary for a rescue mission were replaced by smaller, more flexible expeditions designed for investigation rather than confrontation. Major Corps and his team became the core of a new hostile environment response unit, specializing in operations on dangerous worlds. Their experience on the creature's back had taught them valuable lessons about surviving in environments that actively oppose technological solutions. Engineer Mira Jin continued her research into biotechnological integration, inspired by the organic-mechanical fusion she had observed in the creature's beacon. Her work eventually led to breakthrough advances in Auraxis's own technology, particularly in developing systems that could function reliably in extreme environments. The most significant long-term impact of the Ares IV incident was philosophical rather than technological. The Araxis High Council established new principles for interstellar relations based on the encounter with the Deep Dreamers people. They recognized that humanity's expansion into space would inevitably bring them into contact with intelligences far older and more advanced than their own, and that such encounters required humility and caution rather than military force. Dr. Solon often returned to the observation deck, where she had first detected the mysterious signal from Ares IV. The crystal spires of Araxis's capital still caught the crimson sunrise in shades of amber and gold. But now, she understood that the universe held wonders and dangers beyond anything their peaceful civilization had imagined. She established a monitoring station dedicated to listening for other distress calls from across the galaxy, but with new protocols that emphasized analysis and caution over immediate response. The station's motto, carved in crystal above the main observation deck, reflected the hard-learned wisdom of their encounter. Listen first, understand second, respond third. The Ares IV incident also led to Araxis joining the larger Galactic Alliance as a full member, rather than maintaining their previous status as an isolated confederation. Their experience with the Deep Dreamers people had demonstrated both their readiness for broader galactic contact and their need for better communication protocols with alien species. Years later, when other member worlds faced similar confusion over alien communications, Araxis became known throughout the Alliance as specialists in first contact protocols. Dr. Solon's team was called upon to assist in dozens of similar situations, helping to prevent misunderstandings that could lead to conflict or, as in their case, massive unnecessary military deployments. The Deep Dreamers people, known formally as the Stone Singers, eventually established limited diplomatic contact with several Alliance worlds. They proved to be an ancient civilization that had been exploring the galaxy for millions of years, with a philosophy based on patience, deep contemplation, and harmony with natural forces. Their technology, which seemed to grow rather than being manufactured, offered insights into sustainable development that benefited every species they encountered. Dr. Solon's personal relationship with the Stone Singers developed into a unique form of interspecies scholarship. She learned to interpret their harmonic languages and became one of the few humans capable of understanding their deep time perspective on galactic civilization. Through her work, humanity gained access to historical records spanning eons, including warnings about other ancient species that were far less benevolent than the Stone Singers. The warning the creature had transmitted about burning sky hunters and old enemies proved prophetic. Several years after the Ares IV incident, the Galactic Alliance encountered a hostile machine intelligence that had been consuming entire star systems. The Stone Singers' historical records provided crucial intelligence about this threat, helping the younger species develop effective countermeasures. Admiral Voss often reflected on how different the outcome might have been if they had approached Ares IV with hostile intentions rather than rescue protocols. The creature's people possessed technology that could have easily destroyed Fleet Formation 7, but their response to humanity's peaceful intentions had been equally peaceful. The incident reinforced his belief that military strength should always be balanced with diplomatic wisdom. The beacon technology recovered from Ares IV led to significant advances in long-range communication systems throughout Araxis space. Engineer Jin's analysis revealed principles of biomechanical integration that allowed for more efficient and reliable interstellar transmissions. These improvements proved crucial for maintaining contact with distant colonies and reducing the isolation that had previously characterized frontier settlements. Major Corps' experiences on the creature's back became required study material for all hostile environment specialists throughout the Alliance. His detailed reports on surviving in extremely corrosive atmospheres, dealing with massive electromagnetic interference, and maintaining equipment function on a living surface provided practical knowledge that saved countless lives in subsequent operations. The cultural impact of the Ares 4 incident extended far beyond military and scientific applications. The story captured the imagination of artists, philosophers, and storytellers throughout Araxis civilization. It became a symbol of the importance of compassion and understanding in a universe filled with wonders that could easily be mistaken for threats. Dr. Solon established an annual memorial service for the 4 crew members lost during the descent to Ares 4's surface. The ceremony honored their sacrifice, while also celebrating the peaceful resolution that their mission had ultimately achieved. The memorial became a gathering point for families of exploration service members and a reminder of the risks involved in pushing the boundaries of known space. The Institute for Xenobiological Communication grew into one of the most prestigious research facilities in Alliance space, attracting students and researchers from dozens of species. Dr. Solon's emphasis on careful analysis and cultural sensitivity in alien encounters became the standard approach for first contact protocols throughout the galaxy. The technological advances derived from studying the Stone Singer's biomechanical integration eventually led to medical breakthroughs that revolutionized treatment for previously incurable conditions. The organic technological interfaces observed in the creature's beacon provided insights into neural computer integration that benefited both human and alien patients throughout Alliance space. As Dr. Solon aged, she often returned to the question that had started it all. How could they have known that the emergency signal was actually something completely different from what it appeared to be? Her research into this question led to the development of sophisticated analysis protocols that could distinguish between various types of alien communications, reducing the likelihood of future misunderstandings. The Ares 4 incident became a case study in academic institutions throughout the galaxy, analyzed from perspectives ranging from military strategy to xenopsychology to communication theory. Each examination revealed new insights into the complexities of interspecies contact and the importance of approaching the unknown with both courage and caution. The planet Ares 4 itself was eventually designated as a protected world, off-limits to colonization or industrial development. The geological scars left by the creature's emergence were preserved as a monument to the encounter, serving as a reminder of how much humanity still had to learn about the universe they were exploring. Dr. Solon's final report on the incident, completed shortly before her retirement, concluded with observations that became fundamental principles for future exploration. The universe is filled with intelligence and purpose that we are only beginning to understand. Our assumptions about alien motivations and capabilities are frequently wrong, sometimes dangerously so. The key to successful interstellar relations lies not in our military strength or technological superiority, but in our willingness to listen, learn, and respond with wisdom rather than fear. The legacy of the false SOS lived on in the protocols and principles that guided Araxis's expansion into the galaxy. Every exploration mission carried communication specialists trained in Dr. Solon's methods. Every fleet included diplomatic observers prepared for peaceful first contact scenarios. Every encounter with the unknown began with careful analysis rather than immediate action. The Stone Singers maintained their promise of future contact, occasionally sharing knowledge and insights with the Alliance worlds. Their gifts were always given freely, without expectation of return, reflecting their philosophy of patient benevolence toward younger species. These interactions provided ongoing opportunities for cultural and technological exchange that benefited all participants. The individuals who had participated in the Ares 4 mission became legendary figures in Araxis history. Their courage in the face of the unknown and their wisdom in choosing peaceful solutions over military force served as inspiration for generations of explorers and diplomats. The incident proved that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their weapons or technology, but in their capacity for compassion and understanding. As the years passed and humanity's presence in the galaxy expanded, the lessons learned at Ares 4 prevented numerous conflicts and misunderstandings with alien species. The careful, analytical approach to first contact that Dr. Solon had pioneered became standard practice throughout Alliance space, contributing to an era of unprecedented interspecies cooperation and mutual understanding. The story of the deep dreamer of the Endless Stone became part of galactic folklore, told and retold across countless worlds as an example of how apparent threats could transform into opportunities for friendship and mutual growth. It reminded all species that the universe was vast enough to contain wonders beyond imagination, and that approaching these wonders with open minds and compassionate hearts could lead to discoveries that enriched everyone involved. In the end, the false SOS incident at Ares 4 represented far more than a simple case of mistaken communication. It became a turning point in humanity's understanding of their place in the galactic community, marking their transition from an isolated species, taking its first tentative steps into space, to a mature civilization ready to participate in the ancient community of intelligent life that filled the stars.